Texture. Adding the aluminum foil veneer on your bas-relief collage. Hosted by Mr. Kuehl.
Thanks, Ed. Alright, well, this is part 2 of the assignment. You need your glue stick, aluminum foil, pencil, scissors, and your finished collage from part 1. If you have not done part 1, go do it. Really. Go. The rest of you, let's move on. Alright, for this step we need to get out some aluminum foil. We're going to need a sheet that's going to be large enough to cover the page. So I'll just go a little bit bigger than the page and I'll just tear it off right there. And then I'm going to be trimming it to fit the page better, but I just need to get it out of the box. Now that I have this piece, I verify that it is truly large enough. It is. And then what I want to do is I want to be able to cut off the stuff that I don't need. So what I'm going to do is line up two of the edges with the paper. So the top edge in this case will be lined up with the binding, and then the left edge in this case will be lined up with the bottom or the left of this paper. And when I do that and I make sure that it's really lined up and parallel on the opposite side, then I can rub down that edge. When I do that, I'll be making contact with the corner of the sketchbook, which creates a crease or a little kind of a bump, a ridge. And I'll do that on the bottom edge here too. And what this is going to do is give me a line that I'll be able to cut along, and then it should be the right size. Now, as I'm cutting this out, be aware if you'd rather have the foil not go all the way to the edge, do the same thing but slide it over a little bit before you do the press down, just so that it's adding a little bit or taking off a little bit more. So, alright, so now that I have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue stick, and rather than put the glue stick on the little pieces that I put on there before, I'm going to do it all over the aluminum foil. Because I really want to have a sheet or like a good layer of glue stick that's going to allow it to hold down. And so I take this, apply it on here the best that I can. I really want to make sure that it's basically everywhere. Now, little tip, think about what's right underneath your foil. So I use this little scrap here so that when I kind of go off of the foil, it doesn't get off the table. It just makes your cleanup a lot easier. Alright, once I see that it's centered on there pretty good, I just need to see if I can make it stick a little bit. So it's kind of a gentle rub all over. And then it's time to use my fingertips and thumbs to go along and rub the edges of all of these pieces. And the more that I rub them, the more that they're going to reveal the shapes underneath. And some cases you'll notice that one shape appears to be on top of another shape, which is on top of another shape. So there's some cool effects that you'll start to see, where you'll start to really see the topography of the creation you made last time. And so I'm looking around to see if there's any areas that I had not yet touched. Now, to define it a little bit more, I'm going to take a pencil. Now, this pencil is pretty dull. It doesn't tell good stories. And the idea here about using a dull pencil is that if I do a sharp one, it'll probably cut right through the foil. So I start with a dull pencil, and then what I'm doing is I'm not drawing very hard. Very lightly, I'm going along the edges of the contours of all the shapes that were created there. And so it just makes them show up a little bit more. Alright, let's see what we have here. When you look at it from different angles, you're going to see the way that things stick up at different levels. It gives it a real nice 3D effect. So now, although that does show up, we want to make it more pronounced, and therefore shows up more on the page. So we're going to create an invented shadow using the Sharpie that you guys have in your kits. So let's get to work. Alright, so I just have the regular Sharpie. It's called the fine tip. Ultra fine is the one that has the really skinny line. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a shape, and then after I create a shape, I'm going to make a directional arrow that is me imagining where the light is coming from. And if light is coming from the upper left and shining down on the shape, it's going to create a shadow that's down and to the right of the shape and should mimic it. So I should see the bottom of the square and the side of the square. I can do that with round shapes and then even complex shapes like this. The key is to look for everything that's on the right and to look for everything that's on the bottom and to add a little shadow there. You can even do this with complex shapes that are like shapes within a shape. So I got a few shapes inside those, imagining the light coming from the left and the top, which means the right and the bottom get some extra shadow. It's really easy to miss things when you have something really complex, so look over things a couple times until you start realizing what it is you're doing. So now that's what we're going to do here, and so it's good to practice it first on the paper or cardboard. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along the right side and the bottom of every one of my shapes that is sticking out. Now what I'm hoping to do here is to create the illusion of a cast shadow. That is a shadow that is kind of running down onto the surface next to an object that sticks up. And we'll do some more with cast shadow drawing later. But to just get the idea of the direction on things, this is a good way to jump into that. So let me keep on going and adding black lines along the bottom and right side of all these shapes. All right, well, great job, everybody. If you followed along and gave it your all, then you just got yourself a little bit farther along in this art journey. Part of it is just learning to enjoy it, learning to love it, and then part of it is learning how to use it and to create it.